they're putting those.
Oh, are you talking about the ones that I put up there so far?
Yes, yes, yes.
If you Google just Brad or corn and EXP or corn 100 sales a year or something like that, you'll find all of them.
Sweet.
They're all on the EXP YouTube University. So far, I have up there is how to sell 100 homes a year, which is, and again, back to what I was saying. What I basically did was took everything that I put in the book, which Michael Gerber was able to get out of my head in an organized manner to talk about these topics and the different systems that we built. Now, it's from a 10,000-foot view, but it is how I systematize my business, like Michael taught us in the E-Myth, to real estate. And then what this course was pulling all that content out, turned into 19 hours. And that is building the actual individual systems, which a lot of it first is got to build the database first. You got to get that master list going. You got to start feeding your database every day. And as I'm going through this content in the course, it's giving you ideas of what systems you need to run your business, but the agents attending or going through this won't understand how important those systems are until they've got 500 people sitting in there that they've written notes to and their phone's starting to ring with business, right? So the whole idea is, if God, in the first 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, if I can just get you to do the master list and figure out how to add people in your database every day, by the time we get to week 9, week 10, and start talking about specific systems, you're going to start to see how important those will be for where you are. Most people, and again, this is what I don't like about it. And it's why I decided, you know what? I'm done selling. I don't even want to try and sell this thing. Let's just go. Let's get a crowd. If I have to do this for a year, I'll do it for a year. If I have to do it for 2 years, I'll probably do it for 2 years until I get 20 or 30 or 40 people that are actually doubling their business. Because it'll take the detailed content to get to the 100 sales. But if they can go from 2 or 4 to 15 or 20, and the 20 people can go to 40 or 50, then at least they're like, okay, this is actually working. So I think that tribe needs to be built first. We got to have social proof. Otherwise, because I've been talking this at top of my screaming at the top of my lungs for 25 years, and it's like I don't care whether they do it or not. I'm still selling, 70, 80, 90 homes a year right now by myself with no overhead, very little overhead. So it's like, I'm going to be okay. I just want to join you guys to join the journey and come along with me and get out of this rut that most people are in. So, anyway, yeah. So that's where this content came from.
That's cool.
Let me share this screen. Share. Oh, let me get the slideshow going from the current slide. Slideshow. Current slide. There we go. And I think I want screen number 2. Let me see where that is. Well, let me try that again. It's got to refresh my screens. Share screen number 2. I figured that's where it was. All right. So anyway, what I'm going to do, that kind of gives you a little this is a little preface on kind of what we're doing in this content here. And so right now we're in 17 of 19. So we're getting into some very specific systems in here. And this is just the highlight version of what it is. There's a lot more detail behind this. There's no way I could go through all the slides in this kind of format. So I'm just kind of highlighting the 17th week of going through this mastery course. You're learning about setting up regular reviews for your business process. And in the business process, what we were just talking about is I have my perfect listing to contract plan. From the time it gets a contract till it closes plan. From the time it closes for the next 10 years until they buy again plan. Or from the person that a lead comes in and they're not buying right now, they're just starting the process to plan from the time they are deciding to look at a house until we get them under contract plan. So under this plan thing, one of the biggest secrets I figured out, the databases are designed to try and keep us out of all of it, and they want to automate everything. And for the 2 dozen teams that paid me to come in for a 3 day, set up all these systems, set up all their systems, add their personal touch, all that. For all of those teams that I did that on, not one of those systems or checklists that they were running had personal touches built into everything. And when I say this, you'll probably get this, Bill. It's like from the time you get a contract until it closes, there's all this stuff for like the first week. You got to get the appraisal ordered, get the results back, negotiate repairs, right? Then there's like 30 to 45, sometimes 60 days before all the closing stuff starts again. There's nothing happening for like 30 days at least. That's where nobody had anything in there to keep them informed that they're still moving towards closing and do you need boxes, right? Um, do you need touch up on the house? A phone call just at the 45-day mark to say, hey, how you guys doing? Everything going good with the move? Oh my God, this is so stressful. I'm never ever moving again. This is my last house I'm ever going to move to. It's like, what can I do to make it easier? You got to have that in there because some people will be like that. Other people moved out. I mean, I've had people like, hey, I ended up just deciding to go ahead and move. I found an apartment or whatever. I'm just moving in with my mom or something. They're completely out of the house. I wouldn't have known if I hadn't called. So anyway, that's this part is once you know what your perfect system is, everything that you do on day one, day two, day seven, day 49, day 60, once you know what that is, you go back in and you review that once a year. In fact, this became my annual team meeting where I would have my team members, like 2 weeks before our annual meeting, write down everything that they did every single day. I just need to know every detail of everything you're doing when you're working with a client, grabbing a lead. What do you fill in when the call comes in? What do you do here? What do you do? Just write down whatever you're doing all day long for 2 weeks. It's the worst 2 weeks of their lives. In fact, when I first did it, first 2 weeks, they didn't do shit. Second week, I had to go another 2 weeks. All right, we're extending it 2 more weeks. This time, really do it because I need this from you. Our annual meeting would be they would give me their notebooks. And of course, I wrote down what I thought they were doing, right? So I'm the rainmaker, head guy, head cheese. I know what I think needs to be happening. They wrote down what they're doing. So I took their notebooks. I crossed out everything on my list that they had on theirs. Following me so far? The stuff that was left on my list is my frustration with my team and why they drive me absolutely batty insane because they're not doing 6 or 7 of the items that I thought were being done that I considered pretty important, but they did not, right? And it's only because we can only remember so much. So every year we reviewed our system by we just took every campaign, wrote every item on a sticky note and put it up on the wall in the order it should happen. Then we took our notebooks and anything that wasn't up there, we would add it where it needed to be. And then we would say, now what can we do to make it even better, make this experience even better? And so we would add a couple new ideas. So those would be the kind of the extra items for a year or whatever, and see if we liked them and whatever. So there, one of the things that we went through and reviewed what I would go to a listing appointment and I would tell the sellers at the listing, hey, we're going to have these brochures on your house. And they were just basically the property flyer, right? But we had them do their top 10 favorite things about the house in the neighborhood. We had them do the top 10 things on what they've updated inside and outside of the house. We had them do their utility sheet. So I would put in this brochure, not a seller's disclosure, information about the house. It was our salesperson at the house, right? And then I put that little slide plastic cover, report cover that we had in high school or grade school or whatever, probably high school more than anything. I would put those on there. So I would tell the seller, hey, and I would have one with their house on the front of it when I went to the listing appointment. I slide it across the table and I would say, now, this is one of the things that we put in your house. They're like, this is my house. They wouldn't hear what I say for the next 3 minutes in my listing presentation. You've got our house on there. And a lot of times there's a kid playing in the front yard because I drive by before my appointment, really dating me. I would buy a disposable camera, snap off the 24 pictures, take them to 1 hour photo, and have them pasted on the flyer. The next day, I would go to the listing appointment, right? It's not why you're not supposed to be a Pop Tart realtor, but go like the next day. So anyway, I would show up with that. And I would say, we're going to have these on your desk if just probably within the first 3 days, because once I get the photos done, you're live on MLS. We knew that was important. Got all the photos going on MLS. So, like in my system, checking realtor.com to see if every field was completely filled in, because not everything transfers over from MLS to all the different websites, right? So, whatever website is very important to you that you get your most traffic from, that pops up a day or two later to make sure that it's taken everything from MLS and gotten on there. So I know that nowadays they pull things a lot faster, but there was times where I'd go to realtor.com and there's nothing, it's not even on there yet because it hasn't pulled from MLS. Market reviews, I'm going to actually talk about that. My market reviews really do not start for 7 days. Like it would be cool to show them in the first 2 days that they were on the market that we've already had 6,000 people see their house. But realtor.com doesn't get that report going until about 5 or 6 days after. So 7 days is the first market review that I send them to brag on how much exposure we're getting on realtor.com or Zillow, right? And I even show both of those together. But in that system, so I had that brochure. It said 3 days. So it said drop brochure off at house 3 days after listing. And that wasn't happening. So I was promising and we were under delivering and pissing our clients off because they would get 5 showings in the first week and they'd be like, hey, we haven't sold our house yet and those brochures aren't here. Those brochures they should have been here. Our house would be sold now. So they thought these brochures were this magical thing that was going to sell their house. So again, when that popped up on our annual meeting, I said I had brochures and I had 3 days. I was like, all right, guys, we're not getting the brochures out in 3 days. And somebody on my team said, it was my assistant who has to get those put together. She's like, Brad, we can't always do 3 days. This is back when we were carrying like 40 listings. We can't always do 3 days. We're pretty busy in there. We're selling a lot of houses, selling 100 homes a year, right? So sometimes we're just overwhelmed with stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, if we can't do 3 days, I can't promise 3 days. What can we do? And she said seven. I was like, oh, we can't go seven. That's going to be they're going to have 6, 7 showings by the time 7 days. We compromised on five. So then that's where we tweaked the system and moved it from day three to day five. And that just became the standard. Still shot for three or as soon as possible. But if day five hits, we know we got to get that brochure out to that house because they've already had a couple showings. So it's one of those things where once you create these systems, you want to stay on top of them and add to them. Although I will tell you, 30 years of running these, I am telling you, this is the system that I ran 30 years ago. I don't know how I can really plus them a whole lot more. I mean, technology changed a little bit with AI and some other things, but there's not anything that needs to come out of them. In fact, I found that if I start messing around with these plans, I start dropping the ball and people are having a bad experience. The other thing we talk about is determining your return on investment for the different systems you're doing. So we've already kind of highlighted a couple of these things in the beginning. One of the ROI items that I put in, I thought this is so cool. I'm going to send a coffee cup with chocolates and balloons to their work and get a ton of referrals, right? Because everybody's going to ask them what's going on. Oh, my realtor sold my house in hours and I'm going to get 10 referrals from their work. We did not. So that coffee cup was a cost and I track it. Actually, this is what's funny. Our intake form that we take in the information when somebody calls and says, hey, I have a house to sell or I have a house to buy. That intake form, the one thing that changed on there was we had a form that said, what got you to call us today? We had gotten to the point where it's like, because our follow-up system is running on our entire database and they're hearing from us every 11 or 12 days for 10 years, or, there's all different kinds of systems plans running. We had billboards, we had a bus driving around town, the big wrap on the bus. We had all kinds of marketing going, and they would just say, well, you're everywhere. And that helped me zero with ROI and tracking, right? So then I added a question and said, what was the one thing that got you to call me today? And that's how we started tracking it back to the coffee cup or to the bucket that we were leaving on their desk or to whatever it was that actually got them to call us today, right? So, oh, we see you everywhere, blah, blah, blah. What was one thing that got you to call us today? It's like my friend Susie here at work just used you guys to sell her house last year, and she reminded me that I needed to call you. It's like, okay, that's a referral that might not have gotten tracked back. So that's when you've got these systems in place, it allows you to really start tracking your business. You want to identify the systematized, persistent, and consistent ways to get predictable results. The thing about a campaign or an action plan or a system is it's repeatable, duplicatable. You turn it on with the, so in a database setup, the way this is set up is you put a client in and you start them on the campaign of where they are in the process. If they're just a internet buyer. So I have two different internet buyer plans. I have an internet conversion plan that has day zero, call, day one after, call, one more day later, call, send an email day four, send something in the mail day seven, call again on day five, call again on day 14. Then it runs 45 days with just those normal emails and all the stuff that you're probably running right now in your system. But we added those extra calls in there. And think about this for a minute. If you got an internet lead source that is bringing you in 1 to 2 to 3 leads a day, the average agent is naturally going to call those 3 leads. They're excited for business. They just turned their lead machine on. They're excited. They're going to call them. They might even call them again one more time today. In fact, they'll probably even call them again tomorrow. But if you got 3 to 4 to 5 days down the road and those people haven't answered their calls, you already got another lead the next day. You got two more the day after that. You got three the next day. You got one the next day. All of a sudden, those people from 4 days ago are getting zero calls. This is the, you guys know this. This is the challenge, is the follow up. So when I turn on the internet conversion plan, the person that I had 5 days ago pops up on day five to call again. I know that I've got one more call. Day 14, there's no way I would call them 2 weeks from now. But once they get to the end of that system and they've never answered their phone, there's no emails, no text response that says plan ended. Either put them on a 33 touch, which is a forever drip, or put them on the internet. We put them on the internet conversion drip plan, which is now just 12 emails over the next 12 months. And we're just going to wait for that 1 to 2% conversion rate. Does that make sense? So it keeps me very on purpose. I could get 50 leads in the next week. Now, I'm going to be making a lot of calls, and I'm probably not even going to be able to keep up with all of them. But who can, I shouldn't say that now. I shouldn't tell you that you're not going to keep up with them because you're not busy enough to not keep up with them right now. Most agents aren't. I don't have to keep up with all of them because I've got other business and all these other systems that the phone is ringing with business all the time. So I'm probably the laziest on cold call internet lead conversion. Yet when I run this system, I'm doing 3 times better than the average agent who's just waiting on those leads. So it's about the system running to keep me consistent to convert more. You're going to spend 40% of your day on lead generation because your task and your systems are going to pull your calls and your to-dos to the top of the list. And it gets me very laser focused on my 20% that generates 80% of my income. We've talked about that several times in here. But what ends up happening is I'm spending 40% of my day on 20% activities because I made those part of the system, which is pick up the phone and call, write the handwritten note. And I only write the handwritten note once. It's not that demanding. Anything to add on that stuff so far? That's kind of the overview of what we're about ready to run through. Tony, Bill.
I think that was great. It's, again, that I can't highlight enough the importance of the handwritten note. And I got one from Brad myself. So the importance of it, because nobody does that anymore. And again, it's going back to the old school ways of making that connection. It makes a huge difference. It doesn't have to be big. And the one thing that I'm just going to remind everyone, and Brad, you didn't say it this time, but don't put your business card in it. Don't put Tony, realtor, of whatever area and with the company. No, just a personalized, just say Tony, just sign it with your name and that's it. Boom, send it out. Not
Yeah,
on letterhead, not on stock card, just plain old like a hey, nice talking to you
So,
message.
so here's what's interesting. Whenever we share that part of it, like you're getting it at a whole different level than you did when we first mentioned the note, right? It is only the people that I connect with. So, like Bill, I know you're on the call. I don't think you and I have written a note because we haven't really got that connection. We know each other and we see each other on calls every day, but we haven't had a connection yet, right? So, that
Right.
connection, I'm only looking for 5 connections that I can write the handwritten note to a day. And then I go back and I do a lot of the stuff everybody does, following up on an internet lead or calling somebody that called about one of my properties or getting feedback to an agent, calling an agent or going to an event, whatever. I'm still living my life. But the important thing about that is that it's the connection that what follows is 8 touches in 8 weeks. And I got to share this with you guys because here's the funny thing. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, pages 133 through 148. If you take any notes at all, get the red book, pages 133 through 148, and read that section. Though there, what is that, 14 pages? Read that 12 times. Just like read from 133 to 148, put a sticky note there and tag it. Go back and read it again and tag it. And just until you get 12 hash marks, it will speak to you totally differently in about the sixth read, seventh read, eighth read. And by the 12th read, you actually might like see how some of this stuff is showing up in your life. Here's what Keller Williams did when they did this whole 8x8 and 33 touch. Gary Keller talked about this for my first 6 or 7 years there. I would
Mhm.
go to the mega camp, which is like the mastermind we went to, Tony. You had to be at a certain level of production to even be able to go to this thing. So I got the 8x8 and 33 touch like right away. This was so simple. I can just I my brain dumbs things down to the most simple thing. It's feed every day, communicate with it systematically. That was the two things that nobody's doing well. So I would for 6 years I went to this thing. And he's talking about the 8x8 and 33 touch and feed your database every day. And I was doing it, right? So I'm sitting there looking around this room going, why is he still talking about this? Is nobody else doing this? This thing this is 100 sales a year. These guys are all smarter than me, right? And I just remember, and really, it took almost 10 years and nobody was doing it. I only know this many. I don't even know that many. I only know 2 or 3 people that are really truly doing it at that level. He quit talking about it. He just like, you can talk about it for so long and then you just kind of give up and talk about the next thing. Or now they went to technology company, AI, all this, lead capture. They went back to the old ways of doing things. But here's what happened. There was a point where Mark Willis came in, or when he was running it, they had their new database. You get all your people in there, so they've got however many agents got most of their databases in this thing. Which, by the way, 90% of them didn't have addresses, right? And nobody had probably even talked to those people in the last 2, 3 months. But it didn't matter. They were going to turn on. They were going to flip a switch, and if you had them in, if you had your contacts in, they will go on an 8x8 and a 33 touch, and we will generate 6 to 8 times more business for the whole company. They flipped the switch and turned on the 8x8 to people that had never been connected with. Nobody's even talked to them since they sold them their house or whatever. And the sales did go up like 20%. They went up by 23% because some calls started coming back in. So it was an increase in sales, but it should have went up 3,000 or I'm sorry, 6,000 or 8,000%. And it did not do that. In fact, more and more people said, remove me from your list, remove me from your list. So when you think about who you're writing a note to that you're not putting your business card in, this is the person that when they get the next 8 touches from you in the next 8 weeks, will not even think about asking to be removed from your list. So that's a different connection level. So you still want to put other people and other leads. Like I still capture leads and put them on the internet lead conversion or the once a month drip plan or the 10-year follow-up plan. I'll put them on those plans all day long if I haven't connected. But there's way more people in my database that haven't gotten a note from me yet, but I'm only connecting with 5 a day, which by the way, that's only 1,200 people a year. So it's kind of, I call this the slow boat to China plan. But once you do this 5 a day, every day for a year, and you've connected with 1,200 people and you've written 1,200 people notes, your phone's going to be ringing with 2 to 3 deals a month every single month. Now you partner that with AI and all this technology that everybody's woo, which is still at a 1 to 3% conversion rate, except for our partner, we're seeing a 20 to 30% conversion rate because AI is making it more personable and it's actually filtering the people. I mean, for me, I've got 60 communications going with people that out of 300 and something leads, that's 20% conversion rate. I didn't call 300 people to be ghosted by 240 of them to talk to 60 of them. The AI, they think they're talking to me. Now I get to step in when I actually get some communication going back and forth more than once or twice and start working on getting them approved, converting them, doing all that stuff. So this is like the best of both worlds. What we're doing today is how to capture them in your database, make sure they never forget about you and are top of mind when they think about doing real estate. And then our other part is to get the lead capture going so you can get to the 2 or 3 sales pretty quick because the database method is not real quick. It's not instant gratification. You are building a relationship. So, which is, I'll leave one more thing with the note and what Tony said. No business card, no PS. If you hear of anybody moving, the reason why I took that out of the notes and just send a note that says, it was great talking to you, hearing your voice, hearing your laugh, glad the kids are good, sounds like you had a blast at the lake this weekend, whatever. When they get that, when you send that out, 98% of them are not moving until a month from now, or 2 months from now, or a year from now. Only 1 to 2% of them will actually be moving in the next 30 to 60 days. So your note card is not supposed to land on them when and they're asking for a referral because you just reached out of the blue. You weren't even top of mind. They weren't even thinking about you. The last thing they were thinking about was somebody moving or who talked to them last weekend about moving. But once they get the note and then the 8 touches come through, the next person that says anything about, hey, I think we're going to move, I hate their neighbor. Hey, we just want to let you know we're kind of thinking about moving this summer. We're going to hate, we just, what? You're moving? You can't move. We love you. I know we love you guys too. Well, don't move unless you call Bill. Don't move unless you call Tony because the note's been going and the 8 by touch is going now, right? That
Yeah.
would
If
not
I
have happened before this.
Yeah, and if I could just jump in on that,
Yeah.
I know that, and listen, I've been in real estate for 36 years, so we have this conversation. And the only time I say, hey, happy to help you with any of your real estate needs, if you know anybody, whatever, is when I meet them and I give them my business card. If I'm, the next time I call them or the next time I see them, I'm not going to ask for a referral. That's freaking insanity. I'll tell you right now, as a sales professional, I have people that always call me and pitching me shit. When they're pitching me shit, I stop answering their calls. When they keep calling me, and every time I talk to them, whether they're a financial planner or an insurance guy, or any other business, if every time I speak to them, all they ask is for a referral, I will not pick up their call. I will not pick up their call. Matter of fact, I might even block your ass,
Yeah.
right? Because I don't want to be harassed. I don't want to be. Listen, I'm not a cow. Go buy the milk in the store. You're not going to get it from me. It's a relate. That's why this is called the relationship revolution. It's about creating relationships because the quality of your relationships is going to determine the quality of your life. And the same thing could be said about your business, regardless of what business we're in. Of course, we're talking about real estate business, and in the real estate business, relationships are more important than almost any other business because it's the largest investment that most people will make. It's not just they're buying a house, they're buying a home, they're raising their family. When they're selling their home, it's an emotional experience. So relationships are everything. Stop being that guy that's always with your hand out asking for shit. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Give. You have to make deposits before you ever plan on making a withdrawal.
Yeah. When you connect, so just to kind of tie that whole thing together, when you talk to them and you have a conversation, you didn't talk about real estate. It's just, hey, I was just thinking of you, wanted to catch up. Gives you the content for the note. When they get the note, it feels good. When you feel good about something and you know somebody wasn't trying to sell you, you move from the limbic part of the brain to the part of the brain where you can actually say, oh, this feels good. I've got an attachment to it. I can actually process this. Here's the magic. So, in my 8 touches in 8 weeks, call, note, feed them in, start them on the 8 touch. I got two more calls that pop up on week 4 and week 8. That's before they go into a drip plan that now I just need to call them 4 times a year, not week 4 and week 8. But those 2 weeks, when you call on week 4, after you follow this simple model, they answer the phone because they have to tell you, oh my, here's what happens. They got the note 4 weeks ago, but they see your number come across. Tony, oh, we got your note. Thank you so much. That was so nice. They answer your call. And then, even then, that is not my opportunity to start talking about real estate. In fact, here's the biggest secret of all. I haven't missed one deal doing this because if they were thinking about real estate when I was like, I wonder if I should have used the real estate script yet. Well, if they were thinking about moving, they would say, oh, by the way, thank you for that note. That was awesome. By the way, yeah, my sister just called me. She's getting married. So I know they're going to be buying a house in like probably 6 months. That's the stuff that starts happening naturally, right? So that you're top of mind, you're past that hang up part, or I'm not going to answer the call. If you flip it and you do the script that we've heard forever, I mean, I don't know any real estate script that anybody's ever given that when I call, I will get 1 out of 100 or 2 out of 100 people to meet with me. That appointment, ring the bell. Yeah. Yeah, I'll call 100 people in a week. I don't know any system or any real estate script out there that when you call somebody out of the blue, because that's what you're doing, that they say, oh my gosh, yes, we are thinking about moving. It happens 1 to 2% of the time. Best one was that I did was like, hey, I'm in a contest and I got to win. Like the person that gets the most names referrals. I shoot, if you called 100 people, you still only had 3 or 4 people call you back. I want you to win that contest. Here's my neighbor's name. Here's my uncle's name. It's like, what are you doing? You really weren't in a contest. This was about getting business. Those people aren't moving. I know, but they need to move. This one neighbor, he needs to get the heck out of here. Call him and make him move. I don't know. That was my neighbor across the street. So the cool thing about these systems is it pulls my 20% to the top of my database every single day in the dashboard. So there's another habit that needs to be formed is I'm going to rely on my systems to run the business and I'm going to stay with the system. So if it tells me I have 7 calls to make today, I have to make those 7 calls. That is my boss, my opportunity. It is showing me my 20%. In fact, when you really start tracking it, when you see your tasks come up and your calls and that stuff, you'll start to see what's 80% stuff and what's 20% stuff. So you're going to knock that. Again, you won't do it right away. You're going to knock out that 80% stuff, but you're going to see that 20% stuff sitting there that you're going to make that call connect. So just like when we're talking about these different systems, again, these vendors that sell us stuff, I am tracking, can I get a 5 to 10 times ROI on if I'm going to sign up for something? Will it get me a 5 to 10 times ROI? And I even call them out on that call. When I do take the call, they're telling me something that's really sounds cool. I'll tell them, well, if this is $1,000 a month, I need to make 10 grand a month from this. Can you guarantee me a $5,000 or $10,000 a month from this plan? Well, Brad, we really can't guarantee anything. And it might take really 6 months or 8 months to ramp this thing up. Tell me, guys, what's that a red flag for? Hang up. Go move on. Send me your money for 6 months. I'll get you the ROI. But this is all turnkey stuff that no matter what's happening in my business, no matter how busy life is getting, I'm running my 20% stuff. This is what gets you top of mind by staying in front of people. And it's mixed mediums. Forget about email and text, right? There's too much email, too much text. Get some mail in there, get some phone calls in there. Get like when you're doing a social media touch, have some personal touches in there. a few times a year where you actually type something in on the message, not just some automated AI generated result. Those are okay for the automated part, but you got to add that personal touch. So the systems, we have systems for open houses. It pulls out, knocking on the doors a week before, putting up 10 signs all around the 10 to 20 signs around the open house. All that stuff, those systems are all built in to get people through that. Like I said, when you document what your 20% is, which is talking to a new buyer, talking to a new seller, converting a lead, that is going to be your 20% stuff, but you're going to be doing it 40% of your day, which you might be doing it 0% of your day or 1% of your day now. That's not even your whole day. And this is the secret to why I can say I live the best life ever. I live at a lake. I still go out on the lake. I really don't miss anything. I don't miss a tailgate. I don't miss cove swimming. I don't miss any of my kids' stuff, but yet I'm still focused on my 20% all the time because I get that stuff done. Because it is about generating the lead, but it's also about converting it and then closing it and delivering great service so they'll come back and do business with you again. And as we kind of pull this whole content together, this is what you could do right now. Get a week at a glance calendar from one of your title companies. And what I want you to do is set a timer on your watch. This is one of the harder things that you're going to do, but you're developing a new habit. And the new habit is to figure out if you're spending your time on 80% stuff and how much, or your 20% stuff and how much. So what I say on a week at a glance calendar, set a clock, your timer on your phone or whatever to go off every 30 minutes, every day of the week. And I want you to carry this thing around with you. And like the ones from the title companies, they have like every hour block on there and it's a week at a glance. I just want you to write down what you're doing every 30 minutes for 2 weeks. I'm telling you, it's the hardest You won't do it the first week. So you're going to have to start over and do it for 2 solid weeks because you got to make up for, like, I'm going to speak at a conference in St. Louis tomorrow. So I'll be gone all day tomorrow. Now I'll still be doing stuff, but I won't be doing work stuff. So a 2 week tracking every 30 minutes. If you're eating a donut, write down eating a donut. That's what I'm doing right now. Just write it down. No judgment, no anything. When you get through to the end, I want you to go back through that calendar, those 2 weeks. And I use highlighters. Green is money, new money coming in. That means new money coming in. So going to clean up a contract and get it like set so you can get paid is not new money. That money's already been made when you got the listing or when they wrote the contract on the house. So showing houses is green. Going to listing appointments is green. I don't know too many other things on that list that are bringing in new money. The stuff that's yellow is everything that's related to that activity, like getting the contract compliant, staging, to getting the photos done, whatever you putting the sign in the yard. Keep track of that. Right now, I'm putting a sign in the yard. Great. That's a yellow activity. That means somebody else, if I had unlimited money and could write a check to hire as many people as I needed, somebody else could do that, right? You're not going to have somebody else sit at your listing appointment and give your listing presentation unless you have a system and they taught it and they can repeat it because you're going to close more deals at that table than anybody else will. You're going to convert more leads on the phone call than anybody else you could hand those calls off to. So talking to a lead who's giving me their name, address, phone number, and they're willing to call my lender is a green activity. I just converted a buyer into a potential buyer in new money. That is a green activity. I don't hand that one off. So anyway, when you get done, and then everything else like red, whatever your favorite color is, blue or red or whatever, I use red because I want that time is those are my big rocks and that's my personal stuff that I have going on. My wife's yoga class, the Tuesday night tacos with our friends. We do it every Tuesday night. I won't miss those. So those are my red blocks. So I've got green for new money, yellow for caution. Now I'm a one single agent. I do a lot of yellow activities, but I better have a lot of green on my calendar every single week. So go back through your 2 weeks that you just tracked and you will have a realization of what your 20 and your 80% really looks like in your world and what you need to start focusing on and why these systems would be so important. Green is new money, yellow is something that could be handed off, and a lot of times my yellow activities can be systematized. So I would rather systematize them first and then have somebody come in and run the system rather than have somebody come in and just do all my busy work. So those here we just talk about that green, yellow, and orange. But when you start tracking this, first of all, you need that baseline to see where you are, to realize that systems could really help you. The second part is running the business yourself first so that you can get these systems in place that are you, and then you can plug your people in for leverage and get more business out of it. So that's kind of where we, gosh, that took, I mean, that was the highlighted version and it still took an hour. I think the classes usually turn into be about an hour and a half to 2 hours to really walk through, answer questions, and get people to implement. But there you go. Another week on the books, Tony. We got 2 hours left or two sessions left, and we're going to start over and go through it all again.
Listen, these are great, and I think that they're going to get better every time. Certainly for me, because I'm again, as I said, I'm learning this system as well and implementing a little bit at a time. I can't say that I've implemented every single step of the way, but that's why we're running it more than once, right? Because listen, I know, and as I mentioned before we started recording, there's a lot of training, there's a lot of calls that we get on, and we have to remember that we're also in real estate, right? We need to buy, we need to help buyers, we need to help sellers, we need to, maybe even recruit agents if we're growing an organization. There's other things that need to be done as well. So agent attraction is one of them, rather agent attraction and also lead generation is a big thing, and we've got to remember to do that. So it's not always easy to implement it all at once. That's why you do a little bit at a time, one step at a time, set up those systems and then start implementing them and just getting into the ritual because our 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 habits become our destiny, right? It's what we do, and certainly there's a lot of things throughout the day that we're doing that could be done by someone else or don't need to be done at all. I know that, as you know, I've always got a million things going on as well, so I've got plenty of distractions. So, but I am implementing a little bit at a time. So hopefully, this time next month it'll be a little better. 2 months from
Yeah.
now it'll be a little better, and hopefully by next year this time it'll be completely different. I'll be rocking those 100 transactions like you do every year.
Don't let me forget this, Tony. You said something about agent attraction. I think what we'll do at the end of this is we'll do a little bonus session on how would I use that to attract agents to my team or to my company if you're in recruiting. What would that system look like? And then we'll start back over and run back through it again.
That's a good idea. After, we got 2 more weeks going, and then we
Yep.
can hit the agent attraction component of it as well. And again, agent attraction isn't just attracting agents to your company, to your organization, like recruiting to EXP or Remax or Keller Williams or anything else. It's about perhaps attracting agents to your team to increase your team, and also to attract agents to use you as a referral source,
Yeah. Oh, your
right?
local agents. You know how many local agents are on drip plans that they love me. They're my competition. And I just posted something about this. Going to your local events and hanging out with the local agent.
Absolutely.
So how
Because
much easier your deals are. Oh,
100% because people like to work with people they know, like, and trust. And if they already know and like you, when you go show the house and they had a glass of wine with you 2 weeks ago at a business event, they're going to be more likely to work with you a little bit smoother. Because, by the way, for anyone who sees this, understands, doesn't understand, doesn't believe it, whatever, listen, it's bullshit if you think that realtors don't work better with other realtors that they like. The same way you
yeah.
talk and deal with people that you like, realtors are the same way. So make sure you're doing that. And again, it's important well, remember we met that one guy at this mastermind that we just went to. All that guy does is referral business. He referred 98 deals last year. What? That's like, honestly, think about that. Referral at 25%. That's like he sold 25 houses, except he didn't do any of it. He just made referrals. That's crazy.
That
So
is real, actually.
that's
I know
crazy,
one that
right?
lives in Berkeley, California. He refers 80% of his business because he's traveling all the time. We're
Right? I'm
talking
that guy. Right?
over
That's right.
100
That's
deals
the
a
other
year.
guy.
And you know what's funny is I hang out with him. It's a top group. It's Star Power, right? And Cyber Stars is where that one was. But I told him all the time, it's like I want to grow up to be like Ira one day. And he's like, "What? Nobody cares about I'm just referring things out." It's like exactly. And you're traveling all over the freaking world all the
Right,
time.
making money.
Yeah.
Cha-ching,
And living
cha-ching.
in Berkeley. I mean, this is his income. Not
Love it,
something
love
else.
it.
Yeah. All right,
All
guys.
right,
Fun
Brad,
week. Fun week. All right. We'll see you next
that
Wednesday.
kill that recording.
Yep.